Good morning. This is RCB News, and I am Ryan Boland. I want to get right down to the news at hand. I want to talk just a few minutes about what I believe to be the superiority of capitalism over socialism and communism, but mainly socialism, since that's the big spin right now. And as I've said before, that socialism is a stepping stone to communism. But in this video, I just want to give a brief outline, in my opinion, of why I believe that capitalism is superior to socialism and why I believe it's a better system and has been the best system for America. Now, let's just put it right out here at the front. Capitalism is not a perfect system, needless to say. And the reason why it's not a perfect system is because it's created by humans, and humans are imperfect. So true. A person can abuse capitalism. A person can use it the wrong way. They can abuse it. They can become greedy. We have a lot of people who are greedy for money and profit and are willing to do anything they can to get this to get a profit. So therefore, capitalism is an imperfect system, and it's a flawed system because it's created by humans. But I believe it is the best system for America. Even though it is an imperfect system, it's the best system for America. And that's what I want to outline here today. See, the thing is, before I go any further into my points, is that socialism and communism are evil systems in and of themselves. And basically what I mean by that is simply this. It doesn't matter whether the person or the politician or the individual is utilizing it in government to do good to everyone. It's going to eventually end up hurting everyone. Why? Because socialism and communism are evil in and of themselves. There's nothing good about them other than the fact that you're distributing income or equality, supposed equality to everyone. The problem with that philosophy is you're taking from other people and then you distribute it to people who don't deserve it, who have not worked for it. Now, I don't want to go too far into that, but that system is corrupt in and of itself. The other reason why socialism and communism is corrupt as compared to, more corrupt as compared to capitalism, is because it came out of the heart of a man by the name of Karl Marx. I'm pretty sure you all know him. And he co-wrote a system of belief system, a system of writings known as the Communist Manifestos in 1848. And he co-wrote that with his friend Engels. And both of these individuals hated capitalism and they hated God. That was one of the things they did. They hated God. And any individual that just hates God, if you read Karl Marx's poems and so forth, he expresses his intense hatred of God and all forms of religion, but Christianity in particular. He really hated God. And if you have that much hate in you about God, who ain't did nothing to you bad, and you have that kind of hate for you about God, what kind of system do you think is going to come out of your heart? It certainly is not going to be good. And he said in his writings that his main objective wasn't political. His main objective was to destroy the image of God. That's what he says. It's not my opinion. That's a fact. So needless to say, socialism comes from that ideology. It comes out of Karl Marx's heart. And if it comes out of his heart, then there's nothing good going to come out of that system. And in every country that has utilized socialism and utilized communism, it has always caused distress and poverty, abstract poverty, for the people who are submitted to that system. So I want to go right into this. I want to deal with what I believe to be the superiority of capitalism over communism. And number one, capitalism allows you the freedom to be and do what you want. Okay. And let's be realistic. Of course, it's not talking about abusing other people, or abusing power, or hurting people, or doing anything of that type of matter. It's not saying anything in that nature. That's not what capitalism is. Capitalism is the expression of the free market. And the free market is simply a person that creates an idea, it comes up with an idea, they create the product for that idea, and then they sell that product to people who are willing and able to buy that product. That's the free market, basically, in essence. And what basically capitalism allows is you the freedom to be and do what you want. In a capitalistic system, you can be a doctor, a lawyer, a filmmaker, a writer, or you can just work a 9 to 5. Whatever the case may be, you have the freedom and the option in a capitalistic society to do that. If you don't want to be a doctor, you don't have to be a doctor. If you don't want to be a lawyer, you don't have to be a lawyer. If you don't want to be a writer, you don't have to be a writer. But in a capitalistic country, or system, you have the freedom to do those type of things. And any system that suppresses that freedom, in my opinion, is an oppressive, inferior system. Socialism puts everyone on the same level, no matter what you earn. So therefore, in a capitalistic system, you not only have the option to be what you want to be, but you also have the freedom to earn the amount of money you want to earn. For example, if you become a doctor, needless to say, you put in invested years into studying to be a doctor, correct? So having done that, don't you think that you should receive the benefits of putting all those years into trying to be a doctor or a lawyer or a filmmaker or a novelist or whatever the case may be? You should reap the benefits of that. You're selling a product. If you're a doctor, what product are you selling? You're selling your services. You're selling your medical expertise. If you a novelist, what product are you selling? You're selling your novels. If you are what was the other one? Lawyer, you're selling your knowledge of law. You've bettered yourself. In a capitalistic system, you're allowed to better yourself, invest in yourself, and then create a product that the people want to buy and are able to buy, and then you sell it to them. So in a capitalistic system, one of the aspects, the superior aspects of a capitalistic system, is that, as something that a friend of mine said a long time ago that makes so much sense, and I never really paid attention to it until now: fair exchange, no robbery. In a capitalistic system, depending on the quality of the product sold, needless to say, but in a capitalistic system, both people end up happy. Now you say, how is that? Because in a capitalistic system, I create a product, I come up with an idea as an entrepreneur, I create a product, I sell it to you. And then you say, oh, I want that product. So out of your own free will and out of your ability, you give the money to me, and that's it. And in exchange, I give you the product. So guess what? If the product is worthy of the price that I'm selling it for, which usually is the case, should be the case, not always, but for the most part it is, guess what? Both the buyer and the seller are happy. In a socialistic environment, that's not true. Because in a socialistic environment, what happens is the government takes money out of your check or the working person's check without asking anything. They forcefully take money out of their check through taxation and give it to other people. And oftentimes the people that they give it to didn't do anything to earn it. That's what this welfare state is all about. We need the welfare state. We do need it. I'm not saying we don't need it. We do need it for people who really need it. But there's a lot of people on welfare who don't need to be on welfare, that need to be out there working. And yet the government, in a socialistic environment, the government takes money out of your check forcefully and gives it to people that don't want to do anything. Now, do you think that's fair? Of course not. That's not a fair exchange, no robbery. That's not fair at all. That exchange is not fair at all. So capitalism is superior to socialism in that sense. Okay, it's not a perfect system, but it certainly is superior because it gives you and I the option to be where we want to be and then create a product, sell it to people who want it. I hear people say this oftentimes, and they say, well, and I'm going to mention this guy's name. Well, I'm going to mention his name. I won't mention his name. But he was a movie director. I love him. This guy's awesome. I really love him. He's the coolest guy. But he made a movie back in the late 1980s called They Live. And in an interview, he stated that the reason why he made that film was his rebuttal against what he referred to as unrestrained capitalism. And as all we know, that during the 80s, that was the Ronald Reagan era. And that was, and many, depending on who you ask, many people will say that was the most prosperous time in all of American history. But then, depending on who you ask, I mean, if you're asking people that really were go-getters and entrepreneurs and so forth, and they were really out there trying to do things, whatever, they'll tell you it was a prosperous time. And I'm not just talking about white people, I'm talking about black people as well, blacks, whatever. They will all tell you that. But of course, if you ask somebody that's poor and don't have any money, they ain't gonna tell you that, because a lot of poor people, not all, but a lot of poor people have this mentality that things should be given to them. I'm poor, so things should be given to them. And that's one of the reasons why a lot of them get on welfare. Not all of them. That's one of the reasons why a lot of them get on welfare, because they think that society owes them simply because their ancestors was born in slavery, or they were taught that in school by their teachers, whatever the case may be. This entitlement mentality that they think they should be given to. In a capitalistic society, that's not so. But anyway, going back to the director of They Live, he said that he made that movie as a direct way of rebutting basically this idea of this unrestrained capitalism that was going on during the Ronald Reagan years. And he said it just sickened him. It just ticked him off, because during this time, there was let's face it, with the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, you had business people selling Nightmare on Elm Street, baby dolls, shirts, food, you name it. They was capital. That was you talking about capitalism. That was capitalism times 10. And I get it. I understand that. I understand why he felt like there should be some type of restraint on what or conditioning on capitalism. It was so unrestrained because capitalists, or people who were creating businesses, was capitalizing off of people's desires and wants. But let me say something about that. I thought about that, and I said I understood what he said, how he felt, and why he made the movie They Live, to basically expose the flaws, or what he considered to be the flaws of capitalism. But here's the problem, in my opinion. If you look at it from another perspective, is this by force? See, in a socialistic, communistic environment, okay, it's by force. The government takes your money through taxation without you asking. How many of you going to, come on now, if the government comes and say, can I take some of your taxes out of your check so I can give it to these people right here? I know they're not working and they don't want to work, but can I take some of you? You ain't going to say, well, yeah, sure. You probably not going to even say it for something that's needed in the society, like EMS and the police and schools. You probably not going to say it then. But imagine talking about it towards somebody that haven't earned anything. But anyway, even though this director had this ideology, I thought about it and looked at it this way. Is it by force? Even though the 80s was a very capitalistic decade, that entrepreneurs and business people were taking advantage of movies and titles and so forth and just jumping on it, you still have to buy the product. Nobody's forcing you to buy Freddy Krueger dolls or Freddy Krueger shirts or whatever the case may be. Nobody's forcing you to do it. And you could say, well, they're using manipulation and so forth. But even if they're using manipulation, it's still not force. It's still not force. It's just trying to manipulate you and try to coax you into buying something that you don't need. But it's still not force. You don't have to buy it. You buy it because you want to buy it, even if someone persuades you to buy a Freddy Krueger doll. Okay? So my philosophy is like this. It's still superior, even though it's flawed. It's still superior to socialism because you're not being forced. Money is not being forcefully taken out of your check to give to people who haven't earned it. So there's my spin on that. So socialism puts everyone on the same level no matter what you earn. So if you're a doctor or a lawyer or whatever, in a socialistic country, the government puts you all on the same level. Because this is the idea that we want equality in the country. We want equality. So how we get equality is we put everybody on the same level. Now, how stupid is that? I was talking to a coworker not too long ago, and I told him the same thing. I said, okay, you said it's about socialism. Don't you understand in a socialistic country? No, I asked him, I says, if you're a doctor and another person's a janitor, do you think that the janitor should get the same amount of money that the doctor is getting? He said, no, man, heck no. I said, that's how socialism and communism works. He said, that's BS. I said, you're absolutely right, that's BS. But then you have a lot of young people and the millennials in America today who've been deceived into believing that socialism is the best option. They fail to understand that if America goes that way completely, it may look cool at first, but after a while, they're going to run out of money. Why? The government's going to run out of money. Why? Because the money that they're using is not their own money. It's taxpayers' money. And eventually that bowl of money runs out. Now you got to find another way to spend. Now you got to find another way to give money to people who haven't earned it. Now listen, I'm not talking about people in a situation where we really need, like welfare. Like I said earlier, we do need the system. But it's for people who really need it. Something happens where you lose your job that's in a way that was against, where you had no control over. It happened to me several times. And I'm a working man. I have a vision for my life. But stuff happens and I had to get on welfare. I've been on welfare several times. But not because, and I'm not trying to elevate myself over anybody. I am who I am by the grace of God. He helped me to do what I do. He helped me to be what I am today. But I wasn't doing it because I was lazy and I felt like the government owed me something because my ancestors in slavery nonsense. I don't have that mindset. I didn't then, and I was ignorant then, and I don't now, and I'm informed now. So I certainly, no. We do need it, but we certainly don't need this big program to get everybody dependent on, okay? So that's what socialism does. It puts everyone on the same level. So if you're a doctor or a lawyer, you be making the same amount of money as a janitor. Now tell me that's fair. So that's all I wanted to say about that. And also, I just want to try a couple of more points. Capitalism gives you the option to make as much profit as you can, too. In a capitalistic society, in a capitalistic country, you have the option to make as much money as you can. But oftentimes, that's dependent on the product that you sell. You create a product and you sell it to the market. First, you got to know your market. You got to know who the people are that want to buy your product, and you got to know whether or not they are able to afford to buy your product. So, but in a capitalistic society, you have the option of making as much as a profit or making as much money as you possibly can. When we talk about, a lot of people get mad at these millionaires and billionaires, and they get mad and say, man, why they giving these celebrities millions of dollars like these sports figures, millions of dollars, $50 million contracts. You want to know why they giving them $50 million contracts? Number one, they stand to earn twice as much as that. So they give them a $50 million contract. The owners give them a $50 million contract because they're going to earn many times over that amount of money that they invest in that player. But the other thing is that these players make a lot of money because guess what? The tickets you buy help supply that. Why? Because they're offering you and I a service. Now, I'm not into sports that much, maybe say boxing, but the most part, they're offering a service. In a capitalistic country, they offer a service. That service is to thrill you, to make you feel good by playing basketball or football or boxing or whatever the case may be. They're happy, and guess what? You happy because you get your thrill on. Fair exchange, no robbery. In a socialistic country, that's not so. There's no fair exchange, and somebody got robbed. And the person that got robbed was a taxpayer because the government came in by force and taxed you to the gazoo to pay for that service. Tell me that's fair. And then people try to use that as a moral concept and say, well, the socialistic concept is more moralistic. It's based on morals. We want to see hungry people fed, and we want to see, and that's true. True, we want to see hungry people fed, and I want to see hungry people fed. I'm a Christian. But guess what? And I'm not trying to preach, but the Bible talks about giving to the poor on an individual basis. It never talks about the government taking money forcefully from other people through taxation and then distributing the money, what socialists call the redistribution of wealth. The redistribution of wealth is just another way of saying we're going to take money from the working class and the middle class and distribute it to people that don't need it or people that haven't earned it. That's basically what that is. Has nothing to do with really helping anybody. Because if that was true, then why is the history of socialism and communism so screwed up? Why have millions of people starved to death? You tell me. I don't know. But I'm just sharing with you what I believe to be the superiority of capitalism over socialism and communism, which is the next step. Is socialism 2.0, as one writer said. See, so you got to understand that. That's just my view on that, but I just wanted to give that spin because I think that this is a big issue right now, and I think a lot of our young people have been deceived into believing and accepting socialism over capitalism. They demonize capitalism and then make socialism look like it's the best thing in the world, when in reality, those that lack a knowledge of the history of socialism and communism will not understand what is really going to lead to inevitably. So what do you guys think about this? Even though capitalism is a flawed system, I believe it is a superior system to socialism. It's the best option for this country. What do you guys think? Do you agree? Put your statement, or disagree. Put your statements in the comment box below. If you like this video, press the like button, share this video, and subscribe. God bless you all, and see you again on RCB News.